Hey everyone, Bob the Canadian here. So this is the first of the Lords of Middle-earth League games that I'm in. So for the Lords of Middle-earth League, it's a little bit smaller than the League playoffs, and naturally you play with the Lords of Middle-earth expansion. So there's 8 of us in this one. Anyway, so I'm up against Tears Jim for the first round. So it's a best of 1, and we do bidding to determine side. So as the higher seed, I offered him 0 for him playing Free Peoples. So far, I think there's been 3 games, and all of them have had 0 bid and accepted because it's so close, right? It's so balanced. I'm grateful that Prince Fox allowed bidding because I kind of personally requested it because I think that Shadow is a bit stronger and players should have the right to offer, a ring or a token and try to fight for Shadow. But at the same time, it's very understandable that no one has done that yet because, like, as much as it feels better to be Shadow, it's so close to balanced in the Lord's expansion that giving your opponent a token feels pretty bad anyway. So that's where we are anyway. So best of 1, I'm Shadow, he's Free Peoples. Okay, so I start with Musterings of Planned War and Grand, decent start, and he starts with Kieran's Ships and Challenge of the King. So if ever there was a hand that was begging you to separate Strider, it's this one. Like, that is, I think, the most useful card for after you've separated Strider, and this is a fantastic card for defending him in Dol Amroth, so that's pretty cool. Okay, so he starts with no one out, which I think makes even more sense given how, you're looking at separating Strider turn 1 or turn 2 maybe. So not separating any companions makes sense because you want to keep more of a meat shield and keep running with the Fellowship after Aragorn's crowned. So anyway, that's a bit of a bummer for me because that means I don't get a token. It's nice to get a token. So and obviously he takes Gandalf Narya. That's pretty standard. So here we go. So I allocate my usual 1 eye and I roll 2 more and he rolls that. So that's not amazing. I'm at peace with 3 eyes because the Fellowship getting revealed turn 1 would be amazing. But only 1 muster means I'm kind of waiting and hoping he gets revealed to get the Chief. And if not, probably I'm going to get the Balrog because that's the only way I can add a die to my force pool for next turn. So he mustered the elves first. That makes a lot of sense. That's a good idea even when you don't have Círdan's Ships in hand. With Círdan's Ships, that makes even more sense. So I draw a card because Musterings is clearly not playable this turn. Needs all Shadow Nations at war. Grand also needs the Witch King and an Army of Siege, so I'm clearly not playing anything, so I pick up a card. He draws a card, and it's We Prove the Swifter. Wow. That is absolutely... Yeah, I've never seen the cards want you to crown Aragorn more in my life. Okay, so I shuffle armies along, musters the elves down. I continue my army shuffling. Like, naturally, I'm kind of looking at the dew line. Like, since there's no Gimli and there's no Hobbit, that's just the plan A anyway. So he moves, and he gets hit twice. So I'm really excited for an eye. And it's Smeagol. So that's a bummer. I think this is actually exactly how my game against Ari went that I did coverage when I was the Free Peoples, where you get hit right away, which is a bummer, but you don't get revealed, so that's nice. But it's still Smeagol, so it pushes out the Gandalf Narya die for next turn, so it is also a bummer. And in comes the Balrog because, like I said, there's no other way for me to get more dice for next turn. Fellowship moves again, and is safe, so that's a bummer. Would have helped me a lot if they got revealed there for sure. Okay, so on to the next turn. At least there's no Narya die. And I pick up Shadow's Gather and Durin's Bane. So my thoughts immediately move towards Lorien, because that's a fantastic combo for getting these armies together and blowing up Lorien quickly. But naturally, we'll see what the dice give us. So he picks up there and back again and help unlooked for. So Fellowship's okay. So I allocate 1 eye and roll 2 more. And I roll 0 attacks. So I've had a total of, like on the first 2 turns, 3 musters, 1... army movement, and 1 character die for moving armies. The rest has been Palantirs and eyes. So that's not exactly the start I wanted. But he only rolls 1 movement, so at least he's not, he's not getting a huge lead on me. This is still, I think this is a better start for Free Peoples than for the Shadow player anyway. So I draw a character card. I guess I'm just, I don't know, hoping to find cards that I can play with these Palantirs, and there's only a couple strategy cards I would want to play right now. There's like Orcs Multiplying and Many Kings, but aside from that, the rest of them aren't really playable right now, whereas in the Shadow deck, there's all 4 of those red tiles out there, and it'd be nice to have Cruel Weather, so I don't know. I'm also hoping that he gets revealed and that then I can bring in the Witch King and then I can cycle those character cards. So in comes Galadriel. That was the downside to bringing in the Balrog, is the elves are all the way to war now, so that's a bummer. I do at least have 2 musters, so I can get Saruman, or I could get the Black Captain this turn. Also, I've been meaning to ask, because I've recently reset out on my quest to do less vocal tics. So let me know in the comments if I feel like I've gotten a bit better, but let me know if it feels about the same, because I do them without noticing sometimes. If they're about the same, or if they're a bit better, or even worse, that's always an option. It could always be worse. So I muster Isengard to war because, I'd rather leave room for the Fellowship to still get revealed and get the Chief, because that's always fun. Fellowship moves, and is safe again. That's a bummer. So in comes Saruman, and then he uses a ring to move again, which surprised me. I wasn't expecting that against 3 eyes, but he's safe again. So that's very frustrating, having so many of your dice in the first 2 turns allocated to eyes, and they still move 4 times, only getting hit once, and it brings in Smeagol. Like, that's a very rough start. Yeah, I kind of was feeling under my own captain of despair at this point, saying this is not going to be a close game at this rate. So I used the ring. I'm not entirely sure why I used that ring. Why do I use the ring here? I guess I don't want to do much with these Palantirs, and I really want to at least have things mustered down so I can get that next turn. And I'm worried he has 3 rings for the Elven Kings and is about to play it, which would be a bit of a poor choice, but at least this way I get value out of this 1 ring. So I just turn it into a muster and muster Sauron to war. And he plays We Prove the Swifter here. So now it makes more sense to me why he used the ring to move again, because now 4 movement plus 2 from We Prove the Swifter plus 3 from Strider's level is perfectly enough to get Strider all the way to Dol Amroth. So that's pretty cool. It, of course, relies on a Will of the West being rolled next turn, or hopefully the turn after that. But it's, he's there for a Palantir, so that's nice. So I play Shadows Gather here because I have to play something with this Palantir. I like all these cards enough that I don't want to draw another card and throw one out, and then draw another 2 cards to throw them out. So playing something, anyway, I'm at least playing 1 card, and then I pick up 2 cards, and I have to pick only 1 to throw out, and maybe one of my 2 new cards will be bad. So I debated for a while between Rage of the Dunlendings or Shadows Gather. Neither of them are being played for their optimal use right now. Rage of the Dunlendings I prefer to save for later in the game, when I know how many victory points I need, and I can commit, preferably, bringing 4 units plus the 2 regulars they summon, either down to dunk on Rohan or after, Rivendell or Shire Grey Havens, or sometimes Lorien, So debated playing Rage of the Dunlendings here, but like this army plus this army is a little inefficient. That's like over 10 units, so that doesn't feel great. So I end up playing Shadows Gather and bringing that army over to Dol Guldur, because the elves are all the way to war. So my thinking is, if I get lucky and he rolls a turn without many musters, next turn, if I put Lorien under siege, that doesn't make a huge difference, because he'll be able to muster up more in the future with Galadriel anyway. But I could also go after Rivendell, preemptively bullying Elrond. That's a reasonable option. Maybe I should have gone that way. But I'm kind of eyeing up the Dew line too, because the Fellowship's doing so well that I feel like I really need to hit the gas and race to 10 points. And this is kind of teeing me up to race and crush the Dew line in the near future. Anyway, I am at least up to, Saruman and the Balrog, so it's 9 dice, one of them being a keeper die, against his 4 dice plus Galadriel, so that's not bad. Okay, so I pick up Monsters Roused and Wormtongue. Interestingly, if I had Shadows Gathered towards Rivendell and picked up Monsters Roused there, that would have been a really cool combo. Like that would have felt nice. And I still have thoughts of going after Rivendell with Monsters Roused and Rage of Dunlendings together. That's a pretty good, 2 Palantirs to put together a bit of an army out of nowhere, So anyway, 1 I allocated, and I roll an okay roll. And Galadriel rolls an I. So thanks, Galadriel. That helps me a lot for sure. So he does get his Will of the West for crowning Strider, but he could also try to move twice and maybe kill Gandalf and get Gandalf the White back this turn. So options for sure. And I have an okay roll. I still only have 3 attacks. So on the plus side, I've increased my total attacks rolled from 2 to 5. So that's neat. And I don't mind seeing the musters. The Palantirs aren't great, but they're not, it could be worse. So anyway, he passes, activate the Balrog, because obviously what else am I going to do with that die? Okay, and then I muster in Dol Guldur, because just looking at what I have in hand, it's always smart to plan out your turn at the start, so you don't do one thing that makes sense and realize you don't know what you're doing with your last couple dice and that it might have made more sense to do it a different way. So my plan at this point is I'm going to muster an elite in Dol Guldur. I'm going to move towards Old Forest Road, and he's probably going to use the H to block me, and then I'll bring in the Black Captain with this muster because clock's ticking. I need more dice. I need more military power on the ground, so I'm just going to give up on waiting for the chief and get Black Captain now. And then with my remaining 2 attacks, I'll attack Old Forest Road, attack Woodland Realm, and play Grand, and probably blow it up this turn. Right, so he has to pick with this H die between either blocking Old Forest Road or mustering an Elven Elite in Woodland Realm. So the Elite would obviously give him more combat strength to defend against me, but it's also using an Elven Elite and making, the other strongholds weaker, and also with Círdan's ships in hand. That's a strong motive for keeping the Elven force pool healthy. And also putting the regular in the way wastes more of my movement. So anyway, mustering Elite, mustering the Black Captain, attack, Grand, and then I figured I'd save this Palantir just in case they get revealed, then I could play Lure of the Ring. No, but I think I already knew I wasn't going to do that, actually. Because Strider's already gone. And that's the main person I want to get with Lure of the Ring. If he gets revealed, playing Lure of the Ring is only helping him get closer to Gollum or get closer to Gandalf the White. So, anyway. There's that Elite. And I move towards Old Forest Road. This is kind of like maybe thinking about coming up to the Dew Line if backup is really needed. Maybe Lorien. It's a nice flexible spot. You could do Rohan, you could do Lorien, you could do Minas Tirith. Road's your oyster. So he chooses to put that guy in the way, for the reasons we discussed. And in comes the Black Captain because, there's a good chance he has scouts and he's just going to scouts away. But if he doesn't, it's nicer to have that combat card now. To have the extra combat power now to increase the odds of killing him. So he passes. What do I do? So I do attack the Old Forest Road. I think about card for a bit, and I play Lure of the Ring just to cycle it because, like I said, I don't want to play it against the Fellowship anymore. So I might as well cycle it, hopefully, get to Cruel Weather or something to help me stall. I get my 1 hit, as expected. He gets 1 hit back. Bit of a bummer, but that army's pretty strong, so I'm not too... I certainly feel like I should blow up Woodland Realm this turn. So he could use a Will of the West or a Ring to muster in Woodland Realm, but I think that's correct to acknowledge that that's pretty pointless at this point. So he goes ahead and crowns Aragorn. I attack Woodland Realm. I like to leave regular behind to, help block Rangers or maybe conquer Carrick later. Fellowship moves and is safe. I play Grand to go ahead and blow up Woodland Realm. I play Desperate Battle just because, I don't know, it's fun to cycle cards. He can't do anything to stop it. Maybe it's a waste of a Desperate Battle, but again, you have the Witch King out. You want to cycle cards. And I got 3 hits right off the start. He got 0 hits back. So that was, yes, a very... It felt like an unnecessary Grand, but I have a Palantir to use as an attack, and the Fellowship's doing so well that I feel like I really got to hit the gas, So anyway, here we are. Fellowship moves again, and it's safe again. So now I'm very worried about the Fellowship because it's turn 3. They've kept up their 2 movements per turn. They've only been hit once, and it brought in Smeagol. So they're in terrifyingly good health. So there's no question in my mind that I'm going to win by corruption. It has to be a race. So I end up playing Rage of the Dunlendings there and moving towards Rohan because I have Fighting Uruk-hai now. I just drew into that. And the Rohan troops are still in Edoras. So maybe there's room for me to pounce on Helm's Deep next turn. And again, I don't really want to chuck any of these cards. Although now that this army has moved north, I'm pretty okay with chucking a Balrog Has Come because it's unlikely I'm going to get to use it. And there's Cruel Weather. So I'm always happy to see that. But of course, they've already taken 6 steps without getting revealed, so there's a chance that they just make it all the way to Mordor without getting revealed, and I don't get a chance to use it, So he picks up 3 Rings to the Elven King. Always happy to see that card. Guards of the Citadel, also useful. He chucks there and back again. That makes sense. You could maybe consider, let's see, because you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, you could put Gimli or Legolas in Erebor. That wouldn't be crazy. Yeah, maybe I would have hung on to that card, but what else does he have? Yeah, the rest of these are all pretty good cards too. Yeah, that's a tough choice. Anyway, okay, so I allocate 1 eye naturally, and I roll no more except the Balrog, and Galadriel is an eye again. So eye from Galadriel 2 turns in a row, her first 2 turns, 1 in 36. Pretty bad. Okay, so seeing the impending conquest from Rohan, he uses his H right away to get armies to Helm's Deep, which makes sense. Now I can't pounce on Helm's Deep. Even if I use my army die and move these troops to Fords of Isen right now, he can still use the H die to finish bringing these troops from West Emnet to Helm's Deep. So I think about what I'm doing for a bit, and the plan at this point is I'm going to muster twice in Orthanc to upgrade this to 5 elites, army die to upgrade them together to Forts of Isen, character die to attack Helm's Deep, Palantir to play Fighting Uruk-hai, blow it up in one shot, hopefully. And then I have 1 character die left to move to West Emnet, so I guess like Rohan will get a chance to muster an Edoras next turn and be a pain to me, but oh well, that's life. At least I'll have it wrapped up anyway next turn. So that's the plan at the moment, but I realize that I have these Palantirs left over and probably not much to do with them because I don't want to play any of these events really, except, Cruel Weather later and Fighting Uruk-hai, but I have 3 Palantirs to use. So I draw a card first, and it's Corsairs. So that makes me recalculate everything. I think I chucked Balrog here. Yeah, I chucked Durin's Bane because, again, I'm probably not going after Lorien. And that changes everything. So now, mind you, I think about it for a while, about sticking with Isengard or pivoting to Corsairs, and I decide, you know what, it would be a lot of fun if we just blew up Dol Amroth this turn and got to kill Aragorn early. So I decided to muster the Southrons to war. He passes. I muster the Southrons to war. He's probably getting suspicious at this point. And I move armies along. So I decide to threaten Erebor and Umbar at the same time. So he uses the H to move into Erebor and into Helm's Deep. I think that's perfectly correct. And I go ahead and play Corsairs. And I attack Dol Amroth with also... Yeah, so I'm excited, but I am realizing that the fact that he left Aragorn there made me pretty suspicious that he had Círdan's ships, or at least Imrahil, and he has a Palantir to play it. So, yeah, there's a Palantir, there's Círdan's ships. So I was bummed to see it, but not too surprised, So I draw a character card, right, because again, I don't really have much to do with that Palantir, and it would have been very helpful to get Ringwraiths or Abroad or Black Captain commands, just so I could pivot and attack with 1 character die, as opposed to pivoting with 1 and attacking with the second one. So Fellowship moves, and they're hit this time, and it's an eye. So I'm very excited about that reveal. That means I can use Cruel Weather, but I think he very correctly uses Galadriel's Ring to block that eye and draws another one, and it's not a reveal. So that's a bit unlucky. It was more likely to be revealed, but that's not insanely unlucky for me. So the 2 is great. He gets to kill Smeagol, and we accidentally kill We Shall Get It. We don't notice that for a little bit. Okay, so I pivot Nazgul, and I move the Balrog to South Dunland. So that looks a little bit stupid, and maybe it is. But I'm thinking at this point, like, there's absolutely no way I'm corrupting the Fellowship, right? So I would actually rather not have the Balrog there to draw an extra tile. Not only because then the Balrog's dead and I can't use him for combat, but then I'm also just making it more likely to help him kill Gandalf, which will not only get him off having multiple keeper dice, but also accelerate Gandalf the White. So at this point, it's actually better for me to not draw a tile. So I could move him down to Parth Celebrant, but then he's going to be declaring past him anyway if he wants to draw that extra tile. So I move him to South Dunland mainly to get him out of the way, but there's lol, he might help Rohan, I guess. Thoughts in my brain. So I bring all 6 leadership down to Dol Amroth because, I have a couple Cruel as Deaths that might get played. So, the extra Nazgul leadership is useful. He moves the Fellowship again, and they are hit, and it's again a not reveal. So I was very frustrated by that, because now he just needs to move 1 more time without getting revealed, and then he's safe from my Cruel Weather. Again, very reminiscent to that game I played against Ari. So I attack Dol Amroth, and I lead with a character card. Right, no, I reconsider. I think I originally led with Orc Patrol just because I didn't want to aid him, but I think I open with a strategy card instead because I guess I want to cycle into more powerful strategy cards to continue my odds of blowing up Aragorn this turn. So is it Desperate Battle I open with, or is it Deadly Strife? It's Desperate Battle. Okay, just in case he does have advantageous or position or daylight, I'd rather play the weaker one first and hit him with Deadly Strife full on. So he plays No Quarter, perfectly reasonable choice. Sadly, he doesn't have a ton of good options. Oh, and he never had time to play Challenge of the King. That's very sad seeing that he had that in hand. Here, I kind of just tipped what happens. Oh, well. Okay, so I get 4 hits to open up with so that feels great, and he only gets 1. But plus No Quarter, that helps. I don't notice that the Desperate Battle worked for him too. So anyway, there we go. Now I take the 2 hits. So I press, and now I play Words of Power because might as well. It's a pretty useless card. I'm kind of just hoping I roll some 6s and don't need to waste another card. So, it's actually useful here. Might as well play it. Okay, so I cancel Aragorn naturally. I roll 2 6s, which feels great. And then he rolls 4 hits, which is pretty absurd. And then we stop to check. And it turns out it does cancel Captain of the West. It's just been a little while, which makes a big difference for me because now I can press and still be attacking at 5 dice. So I press. And I think for a while about whether to play a card or not. Debating between no card, because I should be able to get 1/6 on 10 dice. But what if he has, a heroic death? But then I guess a heroic death would still kill Aragorn. That's the main point. But I really want to kill him before Great Company or Amrahill shows up, because this army is not that strong anymore. So Deadly Strife was certainly on the table. Orc Patrol certainly an option too. One of those two, maybe even Onslaught to get around heroic death. No, that wouldn't make sense. I didn't do that though. I think for a while, and I end up playing Orc Patrol. Just gets me down to 4 cards, so I don't have to throw one out, and makes it more likely I get my 6, and he gets 2 hits back. So Aragorn, he kicked pretty hard on the way out, but I got him. So that feels good anyway. Turn 4, eliminating him again. Seeing that I stopped Challenge of the King felt really good too. Oh, no, right. He played it as a combat card. So I guess I did know that in game the first time. Anyway, on to the next turn. Balrog die is gone now. That's a bummer because it rolled a 9. He picks up another Ent card, so that, and the red arrow. So he certainly has tools to punch back in Rohan. I draw half orcs and Foul Thing. As soon as I see that, I'm very relieved to see half orcs, because the plan at this point is to save it for reinforcing Dol Amroth if Gondor comes, if Gondor decides it was mad that I killed Aragorn and wants to come get vengeance by retaking Dol Amroth, then I can use that to reinforce. So I roll this horrible turn. Like, this was the turn where I really didn't need eyes, because he's probably getting to Mordor no matter what. Unless I reveal him in the first step, which would be nice. So 4 eyes, if it reveals him, is great. If it doesn't reveal him, is a huge waste of time. So anyway, Galadriel, however, rolls an eye again. 3 turns in a row. She's only been around for 3 turns, so she is like 100% absolute worst case scenario. Like 1 in 6 times 1 in 36. Let me pull up the calculator real quick for that one, just so we can appreciate exactly how horrible that is. Yeah, that is 1 in 216. That is so less than 0.5% odds of it going that poorly. Which, even though the Fellowship hasn't been hit that much and the eye hasn't done that much damage, still him not getting that keeper die for these 3 turns has certainly not helped. But anyway, so I have all eyes and all musters and 2 attacks this turn. So bummer hummer for sure. Anyway, so he thinks for a bit. Yeah, he jokes that she fell in love with Sauron. Funny Rings of Power reference. And now I noticed that We Shall Get It was supposed to be here because Smeagol came and died, and it's gone. So anyway, we try killing him again just to see if that brings it out, but it doesn't. So I just pull a random card out of my discard pile and say that we'll pretend that it's We Shall Get It, just to remind us that it exists. Anyway, he thinks about it and passes. It's totally reasonable. So I muster up an Isengard. I do at least have that to do with these musters, so that helps. He brings an Elrond, which I think is the correct choice. Elrond ring is the only one left to him, and he wants to move twice to get to Mordor, so that makes perfect sense. So, okay, I move towards Helm's Deep. Makes sense. And he plays 3 rings here. I would have been tempted, if I were him, to use Elrond's ring first, just so that if you roll really well on 3 kings, you have the chance to get Elrond's ring back too. But this is certainly not unreasonable anyway. And he gets 1 hit, so it doesn't make a difference anyway. So he gets Gandalf's ring back from the dead. Makes me glad I spent it when I did. Okay, so I attack Helm's Deep. He moves and gets hit, and it's a reveal. So that is good news for me. That means I have a chance at using Cruel Weather. But as you'll see, he plays this well to deny me that opportunity. So they get revealed. He takes... Oh, yeah, he took a random because, might as well get to Gollum faster. And gets revealed in North Ithilien. So I draw an extra tile for Moria, and it's a 3. So that's great. So interestingly, he could have taken Boromir as a casualty here too. And I think Boromir could have gotten to Minas Tirith, and that would have been nice. But anyway, like, because he has alternate Boromir here, who's Captain General. Actually, someone answer that in the comments for me. Do the Captain General's guide affect? I think it does, right? As soon as they become guide, it's like the original Hobbits, where you can take them as a casualty right away. I think he could have anyway. So, yeah. Anyway, so I muster in South Ruin because, lol, I have these musters and I have nothing to do with them. And that might be useful for... So he accidentally moves the entire deck to the ring spot and brings it back. Right, he was trying to use Gandalf's ring to hide. So now I have all 3 rings, so that's a hoot. So Gandalf's ring really did a circus loop. It came from casualties back to free peoples and got used and came back to Shadow and got used again this turn to blow up Helm's Deep. So... or to try to blow up Helm's Deep anyway. So I'm playing Fighting Uruk-hai here because, again, I see that he's going to move, and I don't get a chance to play Cruel Weather, which is very sad for me. Well played on his part. So I got to hit the gas. Let's blow up Helm's Deep. And I have 2 We Come to Kills and a Deadly Strife, so I'm feeling good. But I didn't know, of course, that he has 2 Ent cards in hand. So I guess that's frustrating for him that he hasn't been able to get Gandalf the White in and kill Saruman. But mind you, I guess I only just left Orthanc this turn, so anyway. Okay, so I open with We Come to Kill, and of course you can't play a combat card on the first round. So I roll 1 hit, so that's a little unlucky, but not too bad. And he rolls 3 hits, so that hurts. That's not absurdly unlucky, but still unlucky anyway. So I take my 3 regulars, and I get my post, and I whiff on 5. So that feels bad for sure. So now I'm not too excited about the rest of this fight. Anyway, I say no card. I debated playing the other We Come to Kill, but I still wanted it to reinforce Dol Amroth, and I suspect he might have an Ent card or 2, so I might take a lot of casualties, and We Come to Kill might not be played to great effect here. So I'm kind of expecting to have to come back and reinforce after how bad that first turn went. So I play no card, he plays Nameless Wood, and I get 1 hit, and he gets 3 plus 2 from that, so that's 5 hits. So brutal stuff. I play around with casualties a little bit, end up taking it like that, so I at least get my leadership, 1 leadership for the last round. Round 3, no cards. He double checks I did casualties right, and he plays another Ent card. I get 1 hit again, and he gets 3 hits back. So brutal stuff. That was a 4-5. So let's see. I took 11 casualties. He took 3, which, to be fair, he had strong cards, but it felt very bad for me anyway. And he moves again, and he's safe. So that's a bummer. Like, again, I'm still not expecting to win by corruption, but if he had got hit and revealed there, that would have been nice. Okay, so on we go to the next round. He picks up Safe Paths and Imrahil. Of course, Imrahil shows up now. That's pretty rude. Safe Paths, though, that's amazing to see. So you can hurry up and get down to Gollum and not worry about We Shall Get It. Red Arrow, of course, is good for if you want to muster up and cause trouble in Rohan. Bummer that he has both Galadriel and Elrond's dice to deal with. Yeah. Anyway, in the go. So I thought about chucking in All Eyes here and going for the corruption victory, but I guess looking at the hunt pool, there's still quite a few normal tiles in there. So I'm not there's decent odds that he moves and doesn't hit an eye and it accomplishes nothing. So I think I should still stick to my plan of racing the military because, I mean, this army can certainly, they might be able to blow up Erebor Dale, and then I'm up to 7 points. And if I manage to get some reinforcements over at Helm's Deep, then that's 8, 9, 10 from Edoras. It's not that far out of reach. I think it feels like it's in his favor at the moment anyway. They allocate 1 eye, roll 2 more, and Galadriel finally rolls not an eye. So good job, Galadriel. Elrond also doesn't roll an eye. So they both roll a draw card, though, which isn't amazing. Yeah. So he moves first, which makes a lot of sense because I'm excited to put my red tile in there. And it's a 2 reveal. So that is a perfectly fine roll. And, of course, he takes companion casualties and is revealed. I debated for a while here about what to do. I end up playing Foul Thing because I guess I'm a bit depressed about my odds of winning militarily. And I draw 1, so that's fine. Naturally, he has to take a companion, and it's Mary. Yeah, so out comes Gollum. I'm all excited to get to use We Shall Get It, but he knows that's not going to happen. And I chuck my red tile in there. So that feels good anyway. There's always that hope that they hit the red tile. So he plays Safe Paths in the dark and gets to heal 1 and get rid of that. That is good. Okay, and I start moving armies towards Erebor and towards Helm's Deep. Out comes the mouth. He draws a card. It's Thranduil's Archers, also drawing. He has 2 reinforcement cards, and they're for the only 2 strongholds in the game that are conquered. That's just classic this game being a troll. Okay, I continue moving armies. So the Southrons head towards Erebor. These guys head towards Helm's Deep. Right, we make sure the dwarves are on the right spot. Fellowship moves again. It's a 0 reveal. So if that had been an I would have been very happy because 4R suddenly corruption's an issue. With hitting that 0 there, corruption's looking great for 3 more steps, and he can afford to take 11 corruption over them. That's pretty good. So naturally, I use the mouth ability. I decide to attack Erebor from Withered Heath because I don't really have a second great half movement to do. But if I attack Erebor now, then I can use my second half movement later to bring reinforcements from Iron Hills more efficiently. So that's why I do it this way. Okay. On the next turn, I pick up Captain of Despair, which is pretty mediocre. Like, it's not useless, but it's not great. And Horde from the East, always happy to see Deadly Strife. He picks up Athelas and Eomer. Eomer's a bit of a bummer to see right now. Like, it would have been nicer before Helm's Deep got besieged, but it's still definitely potentially useful for causing trouble in Rohan. So I allocate an eye, roll only 1 more, and plenty of attacks. So that's good. I'm a little nervous looking at his roll because it is possible he could win this turn. He doesn't have any Elven Rings, so that helps. But if he has There's Another Way and he doesn't get revealed at all, which is possible, like, because there's 6 tiles in there that don't reveal him and only 4 that do, it's possible he could win this turn. But there's only 1 character card, so maybe I shouldn't have been that scared of it. But he also has the ability to draw 2 character cards this turn, so that helps. Anyway. He doesn't know that I don't have Day Without Dawn, so he feels a little bit more pressured. He chooses to keep Galadriel's die instead of Elrond's. I think that makes a lot of sense, because that way you can draw more character cards and hope for There's Another Way, because it is certainly not impossible that I can win this turn. I need 6 points, but my armies are in good enough position that it's possible, you know? Okay, comes back. Thinks about drawing a card, uses the Will of the West to move first. Certainly a reasonable choice. Don't want to lose it to Day Without Dawn. And he hits the red eye. So that's certainly the best case scenario for me. Worst case for him is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, so 1 in 10 chance of it being that bad. So that's obviously very good for me. Certainly no chance of him dunking the ring this turn anymore, even with There's Another Way. Yeah, he says probably lost the game here. It's pretty much going to come down to the stronghold rules. If he survives to another turn, then there's a shot, but I might even still win then. So that's a pretty big luck swing there. So I attack Dale from the Southrons. So I was super nervous about win from the West because, again, as in my game against Ari, I had a cute little plan for getting to 10 points, and then win from the West took away a pivotal Shadow is Moving card from me last time. So this time I'm very worried about losing it to win from the West, but kind of just got to tread the path in front of me. So I attack Dale first, and he uses Scouts Away. And to be honest, I was actually quite shocked to see the red arrow played there, because if he played it as I stomp towards Rohan, I think that would waste more of my time than this does, because all he has is 1 character die and no rings. So even if he besieges Woodland Realm, and they're not even at war either. So, like, what is the point of this guy here in Withered Heath? Like, he's not going to accomplish anything. So, anyway. Oh, no, wait. No, they are at war now. Never mind. Okay, so there is a chance he could try to retake Dale, but then he goes ahead and uses this character die to hide anyway. So there's really, really nothing he can do there. Like, maybe if he had Help Unlooked For in hand, but I think he already used that card, too. Yeah, he did already use that card. So, but that being said, it is normally useful to have annoying little flies out there to bother the Shadow player. So, like, I understand the instinct anyway. Okay, so I moved characters here because I want to get the mouth with the Saldron army before it moves to reinforce Erebor. And I've got my cute little taxi plan for the Balrog, as you'll see in a moment anyway. So he draws a card, and wow, it's Riders of Theoden. He had all 3. That's crazy. Okay. Okay, so now I shuffle armies with an H. So now I'm ready to blow up Erebor, and I'm in position to get Helm's Deep, and he plays Athelas here. I think it probably would have been wiser to play Eomer or Riders of Theoden to muster an Edoras to make my life more difficult. I probably would have, if it was me, I would have played Amer and West Mnet. Then I'd have to attack that, and then I would play Riders if they had an Edoras, just to waste even more of my time. Anyway. But like wanting to heal is natural so that you can go even faster next turn if you survive. So I walk to West Mnet and I walk an Orc out to Fords of Eisen so that I can do what I do next. So he draws a card. It's Confusion. That's a very useful combat card. So now I play Shadows Moving. So I get to conquer Edoras, bring the Balrog back, bring that army into Helm's Deep, and conquer Fold just in case we go to another turn that closes out Rohan very neatly. So I thought that was a cute drawing everything together and bringing in the Balrog so that I can have a good leadership complement at Erebor and a good leadership complement at Helm's Deep. I think in hindsight, what I should have done is I should have brought the alternate mouth into Dol Guldur so that he can help me press the siege harder, and I should have brought him down to Helm's Deep and had more Nazgul leadership in in Erebor, because I have so many elites here. This isn't as likely to need help pressing the attack as this army is. So if I'd had the alternate mouth, he could have helped more with that. But I didn't know how things were going to look, so the original mouth is kind of a safer bet. He's more of an insurance if you still aren't sure where your plays are going to happen, because he can be anywhere on the map and you can still use him to attack. But the alternate mouth gives you more attacks in one spot. So anyway, that's the tomato. So I have gotten 2 of my 6 points from conquering Dale and Edoras. So now I just need to blow up Erebor and Helm's Deep and I win the game. So it's certainly possible, but up to the dice still. But I attack Erebor first. Just in case I cycle a character card and get to move Ring Wraiths and bring the Black Captain down here to blow up Helm's Deep first. So I play a strategy card. I'm probably opening with We Come to Kill here. Yeah, that makes sense. So he plays Stranded Wheels for the Valor. That also makes sense. So I get 2 hits. That's slightly above average. And he gets 4 hits, 3 of them because of the Valor making all those 4 hits. So that's a very strong Valor. Don't normally see them that good. So similar to Helm's Deep, which I thought was very ominous at the same time, I'm able to take all my regulars gone and still roll 5 for the We Come to Kill. And slightly better this time. At least I get 1 hit. So 1 hit for 10 dice at 5 is still not great, but certainly better than 0 though. So I won't complain. So I press the attack and draw a card, and it's Mumakil. So obviously I'm going to play that one here because I can't play that one on Helm's Deep. And he plays Confusion, so I'm very worried about rolling 1s. I only get 1 hit though, so it's unlikely that Mumakil is going to trigger, but he goes ahead and nicely rolls no hits back, so that kind of signals the end of Erebor, because now I get that extra hit from the Mumakil card. So I press, no card, I get my hit, so Erebor is gone. So I think about moving leadership first to bring the Black Captain down, but because I already have a full leadership complement, all that the Black Captain would give me is the card redraw, and would I really have an extra round of combat or a card? And I think I'd rather have the extra round of combat. So I just go ahead and start attacking Helm's Deep. And I lead with, I guess, Deadly Strife here. And he plays Daylight, so that's a perfect Daylight into Deadly Strife combo. I get 2 hits, just I think about what you'd expect, and he gets 3 hits back. I'm very okay with that trade. I don't press because, might as well save my elite in case things go awry. It doesn't really make a difference. So I use a ring to attack again. I attack Helm's Deep. I play the other Deadly Strife. He plays Shield Wall just because, clearly these don't help at all. That kind of just trolling at this point because it's probably over anyway. And of course, I roll a hit, and that's the game. So, but very tight game. Really coming down. It's crazy because that was such a poor start militarily. Like if you showed me that game at the end of turn 2, where I'd rolled a total of 1 army die and 1 character die, and told me that this was going to end in a turn 7 shadow military victory, I would have been very surprised, like just the right cards at the right time. Let's take a look at the statistics. Yeah, and I was, slightly down on combat dice too. So -6, -5. It really does come down to like the luck lining up and, obviously using the cards at the right time too. About average hits for him. -3 on Will of the West, but +1 in character. So that's still the main downside of that is that it was a very late Gandalf the White. I think that's the biggest takeaway from the dice here anyway. And actually, well, I was -7 on attacks overall, -2 on armaments, and -5 on H's. So that's a bummer for sure. That is so weird to me that you could be that far behind on attacks and still get a turn 7. I don't know anything about this game. I really don't know what I'm talking about. So anyway, I'm off to play Strider 656 in the next one. Yep, looking forward to seeing how it goes. Thanks for watching. See you next time.